What's up, everyone? DefyNewYork.com here with a brand new video. Today we're going to look back at Dr. Dre's The Chronic, which is celebrating 21 years. 21 years. Actually celebrated 21 years yesterday. So, 1992. It was a very, very different time. And for those of you that were either too young to remember or just weren't even alive, just keep this in mind. The murders that were going on around the United States were insane. I mean, you had LA County had just recorded their highest number of murders in the history of the county, I guess, since they've been keeping records of like 2,538 murders. I mean, that's crazy. New York wasn't far behind them with like 2,200 something. So there was a lot of violence and there was a lot of unrest. I mean, you had the Rodney King riots. There was a lot of, extreme amount of gang activity. I'm not saying that there's none now, but back then it was like insane, especially LA and New York. So this album really brought that quote unquote gangster rap to the mainstream. Now, before this, you had guys like Schoolie D, there was the Spice Ones, even, you had NWA, of course. And they had some commercial success, but I think that Dr. Dre really brought it to a whole nother level with The Chronic. I mean, yeah, yes, NWA, very popular, and Schoolie D, not as popular, but he was known, and you had a few other guys that were making the music, but this album, it presented the music in a way that had not been done before. You had those funk instrumentals, the Parliament, George Clinton instrumentals, and it was just it brought like a whole different feel to the music. And you're over here bopping, you're bopping to gangster tunes, and he wasn't just talking about it. I mean, Death Row Records, we already know what was going on in the office. So it's pretty crazy times. And it's probably the first time, maybe the second time you heard Snoop. And it's a classic. You can play it from the beginning to the end. And while, there's not a lot of songs on here that, are going to, maybe make you a better person, but there are a few tracks on there like that. And it's an awesome album. I think, if you collect CDs, even if you don't collect CDs, you just have MP3s, your whole collection's MP3s, you definitely should have this album. As far as CDs go, now if you collect CDs, you look for the CD. I recommend try to look for the retail version, but there's the BMG as well. I don't know if you see that. BMG Direct. I don't really like BMG Direct CDs. It's just like a that collector's mentality. You want the retail version. Little couple differences. But I'll show you that. Yeah, the murder rate in LA was just crazy at that time. Highest on record at the time. And New York City, just keep this in perspective. New York City, I think 2012 had only like 450 something murders. In 1992, there were 2,200. We got different threats today, but back then it was wild, definitely wild. But yeah, you can see that the leaves, the weed leaves are different colors, and even the coloring on the front here is a little different. So, but anyhow, this is definitely an album you want to put in your collection, along with the Snoop Dogg's and all that stuff. But we're gonna touch on that another time. This is something that I want to continue to do, but since Dr. Dre was celebrating his 21 years on this. I definitely wanted to open up the discussion. Let me know what your memories were when this album came out. You know, tell me, you know, I know MTV was getting live with this music. A lot of artists like Boss and stuff, they were not getting airplay on MTV because their music, the videos were too violent. But Dr. Dre, they knew how to do it. They knew how to go about it, you know. And it was such a different time. I mean, even in New York City, Hot 97. At the time, Hot 97 was making a conversion over from like dance music. It was like freestyle music, like Stevie B and all that. And they were converting over to hip hop and R&B. But at nighttime, they would play like house music, which was awesome too. I love that. But it was like everything was lined up. The stars aligned. Like you had the Dr. Dre's going out solo, and just everything was starting to come together. You had Nas that year coming out with Halftime. He had been on Main Source's album the previous year. You had Biggie was on his way, very very early stage. He would go on to be on the Who's the Man soundtrack. 1992, boy. I think Protect Your Neck came out in 1992. That was the first time I heard Wu-Tang Clan. And then, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff. Down with the King, Run DMC, even House of Pain. House of Pain has some good stuff. Cypress Hill. There was just so much good stuff coming out during that time. And but this album stood out amongst most, you know, not all, but most. And it's an important album. It's a classic. Definitely should have it in your collection. So anyhow, that's the video. Please share with me your memories, your thoughts, anything. And stay tuned for the next video.